All right, so Trump's tariffs strategy has been making waves across the globe over the past 48 hours, and countries are scrambling to figure out how to respond. Some are mad, some are plotting revenge, and a few are already starting to back off their big talk. This whole thing kicked off when President Donald J. Trump announced a new plan with a 10% baseline tariff on all imports to the United States, plus extra reciprocal tariffs on nations he says that they have been sticking it to American trade for years. Think of tariffs as a tax the government slaps on stuff coming into the country. For example, if a $100 phone from China gets hit with a 20% tariff, it costs $120 by the time it hits the shelves here. And that extra cash goes to the government. But it's simple, right? The idea is to make foreign goods pricier so American-made stuff looks like a better deal, boosting local jobs and factories. Trump's team seems that it's about leveling the playing field, but the world's reaction has been a wild mix of anger, threats, and a little backpedaling, while some naysayers who scream disaster might be eating their words as the dust settles. First up, how did they even come up with these tariff numbers? The White House has a formula that is not exactly rocket science, but still got people scratching their heads. For each country, they look at the trade deficit, which is how much more the U.S. buys from them than sells back. Take China, where the U.S. buys $440 billion in goods, but only sells $140 billion, leaving a $300 billion gap, more or less. They divide that deficit by the total imports, that is $300 billion over $440 billion, and that is about 67%. Cut it in half, round it up, and China gets a 34% tariff on top of the 20% already in place from earlier moves. The European Union got a 20% tariff using the same math. Japan landed at 24% and India hit 26%. It is not really reciprocal in the sense of matching what those countries charge the US, despite Trump calling it that, since it's more about punishing big trade gaps than mirroring their tariffs. Critics say it's a blunt hammer when a scalpel might have worked better, but Trump's crew argues that it's a wake-up call to nations who have been coasting on Americans' open markets. Now, let's talk about how the worlds have been reacting, because it's been a circus out there the past 2 days. China came out swinging, slapping a 34 retaliatory tariff on U.S. goods and warning it will safeguard its rights. The Commerce Ministry called it a blow to global growth, but some experts think that they are bluffing a bit since past tariffs haven't tanked their trade with the U.S. as much as predicted. The European Union, led by big players like Germany, it's gearing up for a fight. German Economy Minister Robert Habeck snarked that it's inflation day for U.S. consumers, not the liberation day that Trump touted, and the EU is planning to hit back with tariffs on stuff like Bourbon and motorcycles if talks flop. Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba called it extremely regrettable and is pushing for exemptions, though they're still figuring out their next move. Their stock market, the Nikkei 225, dropped nearly 2% as panic set in. South Korea's acting president Han Duck-soo went full drama mode, calling it a great crisis and vowing an all-out response, especially since their car exports to the U.S. took a $34 billion hit last year. India is keeping it cool for now, saying that they are assessing implications and want a mutually beneficial deal, but done before. They have got a history of sly counterpunches when pushed. Then there's Canada and Mexico, who have been tangled in this mess before. Both got slapped with 25% tariffs earlier this year over fentanyl and migration issues. And this week's announcement didn't spare them from the 10% baseline hit either. Canada's conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre, raged that Trump stabbed Americans' best friend in the back, and Nova Scotia's premier even banned U.S. companies from local contracts. But here's the thing. Some whispers suggest that Canada's already looking for a quiet way out after that Senate vote on April the 3rd, where 51 to 48 said that no thanks to Trump's Canada tariffs, even if it's stalled in the House. Mexico's talking tough against eye for an eye moves, but their economy is so tied to the U.S. that they might fall faster than a cheap lawn chair. Brazil's not happy either, threatened World Trade Organization action over their 18% tariff, while Little Cambodia slammed with a 49% rate. It's just trying to survive. Their spokesman, Sok Asen, grabbed that Trump's ignoring human rights by picking on small fry. Even the UK, which dodged extra tariffs for now, it's nervously eyeing the chaos, preferring talks over a trade war. Markets went nuts too. The S&P 500 tanked almost 5% on April the 3rd, and it's a worst drop since 2020 as investors freaked out over a possible global trade war. Economists like Lawrence Summers, who used to run the Treasury under Clinton, why that Trump's speech cost so many people so much? But Trump, well, you know Trump. He shrugged it off, predicting a stock boom once everybody calms down. He might not be wrong. Some countries are already softening their stances, hinting at negotiations instead of an all-out retaliation. The naysayers, especially those whining liberals and Democrat fanboys, jumped the gun, screaming about inflation and doom. Sure, prices might spike, like a 2300 iPhone if China's costs soar. But the idea is American companies stepping up, hiring more, and making stuff here instead. That is the pro side. Jobs, factories, and a stronger U.S. economy long term. The against, higher prices short term, ticked off allies, and maybe a recession if everyone starts swinging tariffs like baseball bats. But here's how it gets funny. Some Democrats have actually defended tariffs in the past, well, despite their current meltdown over Trump's plan. Back in the day, Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon pushed for targeted tariffs to protect American timber jobs, saying that it was about fairness against cheap imports. Now he's crying that Trump's version is a tax on families for his billionaire bodies, which smells like hypocrisy from a mile away. Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut called them political weapons this week, but Democrats under Biden kept Trump's old China tariffs in place, tweaking them just enough to claim credit. Even Senator Peter Welch from Vermont, who's wailing about Trump's lawless overreach now, once cheered tariffs as a way to stick it to the foreign competitors. Well, I guess it's only cool when their team's holding the stick. Their flip-flop just shows how tariffs can flip the script depending on who is in charge. So what's the fallout looking like? On the plus side, if this works, American manufacturing could get a shot in the arm. Think steel plants in Pennsylvania humming again, or car parts made in Ohio instead of overseas. Trump's betting on that, saying that it's about reindustrializing the country. And conservatives like Nick Iacovella from the Coalition for a Prosperous America are hyped, calling it a golden age move. Elon Musk being quiet on this one, but his Tesla gigafactories could cash in if imports gets pricier. The downside is real too. Consumers might feel the pinch first, like paying more for groceries or gadgets, and if countries like China dig in with countermeasures, it could start supply chains worse than a traffic jam on the 405. Smaller businesses, like some kitchen gadget makers scrambling in Taiwan, are sweating bullets over costs. Plus, allies might ditch the U.S. for other trade partners, leaving America on the outside looking in. Now, the big twist. Those loudmouth critics who swore that this would tank everything might be wrong already. Canada's Senate vote and whispers of backroom talks show some nations aren't ready for a full-on fight. China's bluster hasn't stopped trade before, and the EU's two-stage revenge plan, as in steel, tariffs now, tech later, sounds fierce but could fizzle if Trump offers a deal. Japan's waffling, South Korea's panicking, but they all need the United States market too much to burn the bridge completely. So Democrats can squawk all they want, but their past tariff law proves that it isn't some alien concept. They just hate it when Trumps do one swing in the bat. Free trade purists might clutch their pearls, sobbing about global harmony, but if socialism or Marxism ever rear up in these talks, it would get shredded faster than a paper umbrella in a hurricane. Because this is about raw capitalism, not handouts. The next few weeks will tell if Trump's gamble pays off or if the world doubles down on the chaos. But for now, the naysayers look like they might have been jumping the shark too soon. But I would like to know what you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Power Pundit. Much love and bliss.